Thanks for everyone who's taking time out of your day to join us for our community update, our second live community update webinar. And we hope to have these on a regular basis, maybe monthly or so. It's like we're at 2 past the hour, and Landua, our CEO for Regen Network, has just popped on and joined us. I think, Gregory, you're going to start the call out and get us rolling. Then I'm going to take over and give us kind of a whole slew of updates from various folks on our team.
All right. Thanks, Christian. Welcome, everyone. Seeing people tune in from all around the world. It's really exciting. Feel free to hop over into our Telegram channel or type questions directly here into Zoom. All questions and comments are welcome. We're excited to get to communicate with everyone. The purpose of the call, as Christian was noting, is to just give everybody an update of where we're at, be able to field questions and ideas from all of you. I'm going to start the call with just a brief moment of just, asking everybody to think about what does your life look like when agriculture works, when the food that you eat is healthy and the soil that grew it is healthier because it was grown. And just take a moment to connect with that and where you see hints of that becoming in your world, whether it's a business that you think is doing a great job, your own or somebody else's, or a particular farm that you're connected to, or landscape. Just sort of take a moment to connect with things that are hints of the potential that I think we're all really excited about. And maybe take a moment, if something comes to you, to just share it into the chat. What are the things that are hints of the potential of the world that you're seeing pop up in your life? And feel free to share in Telegram or here. And with that, I'm going to hop in. So I'm going to kind of just give an overview of where Regen Network is, where we're a little bit, kind of just stumblings from the CEO. And I'm going to pass it over to Christian so that he can do a little bit more detailed operational check-in, and then move through that all pretty quick so that we can answer questions, whether they be technical or financial or what have you. So it's been a really busy month, busy several months. Things are really starting to accelerate. We've got a amazing office with, floor to ceiling whiteboards in Great Barrington, Massachusetts, and our development team, which is from all around the world. We had people flying in from Hawaii and Switzerland and Belgium. Our dev team is co-located there in Great Barrington for a design and development sprint, and we're working with an amazing group of farms and farmers in the Northeast, research farms and conventional farmers and organic farmers, and research institutions, Woods Hole and Yale, connecting with teams that are doing great work in order to approach the data and the practices from the right place. And also, we're really digging in right now to sort of the user-centric design that's going to make an application and sort of a portal into Regen Network that is just a joy for farmers and land stewards to use. So that's kind of what's moving. And alongside that, we've been traveling all over the world. Christian and Brian were just in Switzerland at the co-dialogues on food and land security. I got the privilege of being president at Nexus, and in a event that we co-produced with some of our friends and allies at Mega Food, which is a really amazing supplement company, which we're chatting about helping them through the use of Regen Network. And yeah, so it's been busy, lots of edge and lots of connection, lots of events, and lots of really deep work. And I think one of the things that I just reflect on is, in order to do the work that we have in the world, we sort of have to build community, which is part of what we're doing right now with all of you, and part of what happens when we're out connecting with events and learning and communicating what's happening. And also there's just a lot of deep work to do. We have to solve big problems, science and technology, and putting sort of bring together in order to make the digital just sharing from a personal space. I think guessing a lot of you are pretty connected to what Regen Network is, but let me give you a quick overview as well. So Regen Network, our aim is to reinvent the economics of agriculture and realign short-term economic health with long-term ecological health. And in order to do that, we really need farmers and the rest of the community that purchases food and other products to all have a deep understanding about the emerge and core to our vision for that is a decentralized data commons, or the ability for all users to have sovereignty over their piece of the puzzle, and then to be able to exchange and contract with one another. And you know, we're busy bustling away building that, and that's sort of the big vision. But it's also really important to understand that, you know, we live in a world driven by finance and business, and so we're also very pragmatically creating sort of user-centric applications that make it easy and valuable to join and engage, to be able to understand more about the health of your agro ecosystem, and for people to be able to fund that. And so that's a bit of the overview, from busy bustling globe-trotting network building on the human side to deep focused work connecting with local farmers in our region around the world, and then working on coding in such a way that creates a platform that can help connect us all together. So I'm going to hand it over to Christian now so that he can kind of dig in a little bit to the update of what's happening with the different teams that are working on Regen Network. I think there's about 20 people working on this all around the world at this stage. So lots of activity and lots of different things going for Christian to report back on. Thanks, Christian.
Yeah, thank you, Gregory. Really appreciate it. Yeah, I'm, like Gregory said, I'm just back from Switzerland at the Co-Dialogues, and you know, I got to grow a lot there. I got to learn a lot about international climate finance. I mean, that's something that's currently up in my mind. I learned a lot about the difference between investing into mitigation versus investing into what they call climate adaptability and resilience, climate adaptation and resilience, and learned a lot about why 90% of climate funds that are invested into the world are going into mitigation rather than going into adaptation and resilience. And I'd say that one of the another way of looking at what it is that Regen Network is doing is that we're really making it more possible and more measurable and more verifiable to be able to invest in climate adaptation and resilience. And what that means to me is primarily ecological agriculture, investing into ecosystem health, investing into watersheds, investing into local communities. Whereas most of the climate finance right now is focused on, you know, huge wind farms, huge renewable energy projects. When they do reforestation, it's usually a monocrop reforestation because that's very easy to calculate. You know, we're going to plant trees every 2 meters, and in 10 years, we're going to harvest a quarter, and 25 years, we're going to harvest this much. It's going to give us that much return. It's a lot harder to make those calculations for small scale distributed farming operations. And yet, with 500 million farmers on this planet, we need to invite and incorporate their knowledge and and their wisdom into this movement. That's what really moves me with working with Regen Network is the ability to democratize the reversal of global climate change and uplift the lives of those farmers doing the hard work all around the world. I've recently been saying I'd love to see as a side outcome of what it is that we're doing here for the occupation of farmer to be seen similarly to the occupation of doctor. And why not? Because if you think about it, both of them are working in the realm of creating healthy bodies and keeping our families healthy and strong, and stewarding long healthy lives for us and our communities. So rather than being seen as a kind of degraded occupation, I want to see farmers lifted up and be honored for what they're doing. I'm on and off reading a very book of America right now, and one of the quotes out of there is, "The true measure of agriculture is not the sophistication of its equipment. It's not the statistics of its productivity, but the good health of the land therein." I believe that's what it's all. I think that what Regen Network is doing is collecting that data to be able to measure the good health of that land. And as we understand more about ecological agriculture, and as we start to aggregate the data into systems so that existing systems in our world can employ that data into real change on the planet, from organizations like the United Nations down to individual farmers that are farming 1 acre of land, they can understand and use that data more effectively to make the change that's needed for their own productivity as well as for the Earth's health. So my goal here is to give you a pretty functional update on what's going on with Regen Network, and also to help you understand what it is we're setting out to do and how you might get involved with us. We're building a network. This is something that I want everyone on this call to really understand, is that Regen Network is not trying to be a portal and a gatekeeper and like a business in the conventional sense where we own all the intellectual property and we own all the data, and if you want to interact with us, you need to interact with us, and then we connect it with someone else and we take a fee along the middle. We're creating a set of tools. We're creating protocols and software which are being put into the public domain so that anyone can utilize these. We believe that the network has way more knowledge and power than we could ever come up with as an individual group of, as a team. So we want to invite you into that network. We want to help you understand how to invite other people into the network, because I know that in your town, in your family, in your watershed, maybe even in your businesses, there are people that need to know about what we're doing and have a critical piece to bring to the table. So if we do our job well here, each of you will understand to a greater degree what it is that we're doing and how you can get involved. So with that, let me just dive into some updates. I mean, the most immediate is we just got off an investor webinar, and we had 16 people on the potential of this project that we're doing. That's not what this call is going to be about, but we'd love to share with any of you. If you're interested in investing or you're interested in being part of that aspect, please get a hold of me. I'm happy to set up a call or help you walk through that process. The way I'm going to be sharing for the next 20 minutes or so is by looking at fields. We have structured our business in a model that was introduced to us by Carol Sanford. She wrote a book called The Regenerative Business. And we're working to run our business in a way that's more regenerative internally. So rather than having kind of a top-down approach where Gregory as the CEO and I as the COO kind of tell everyone else what needs to happen, we're inviting the whole to their own agency and understanding what it is that we're trying to create and how might the passion contribute to it. We do create field teams so that we're making sure that we're covering all the areas that need to be covered. We have a fundraising field team. We have a development field team. We have a design field team. we have a marketing field team, we have a team, and there may be others that I'm sorry if field teams if I'm forgetting you, but a lot of those field teams are overlapping with each other. So very few people on the team, on our teams, are on only one field team, but most of them understand what's happening in the others, so that we can all hold the same whole together and work towards, you know, in a networked way, work towards health of the whole. So I harvested some updates from the field teams, and I'm just going to be sharing some of those with you right now. So what's the big picture? You know, as most of you know, agriculture is a broken system. According to the UN FAO, our soils only have 57 harvests left. You know, for those of us kids and don't have grandkids, that doesn't look very well. But it also holds the greatest potential to create a healthy world. Working with the world's farmers, Regen Network is reinventing the economics of agriculture, and we want to get you involved in that process as well. Regen Network is a technology company creating protocols and software that powers an open, incentivized marketplace for ecological data. So operating at any scale, this transforms the impact from other studies we've seen. A shift in practices in agriculture alone could reduce carbon dioxide concentrations in the atmosphere. None of us are suggesting that we should stop all the other programs, so it's going to be part of the pie of reversing global climate change, but this is a really important one. And what's most exciting about it is that it also creates tons of other multifaceted benefits. So not only are we sequestering carbon out of the atmosphere, which honestly to most of us on our team feels just like a side product. What we're really doing is we're revitalizing watersheds. We're creating resiliency in local communities. We're helping farmers have livelihoods that actually can raise their families and send their children to college and be meaningful to them. We're revitalizing the rural around the world. So please help us do this. We can't do it alone. This is really a network project, and we want your help. So I'm going to start with fundraising because really that's pretty front and center right now. And I'm excited to share what's going on with this because for me, it feels like we've just turned a big corner in the fundraising story. So as many of you know, we're in the midst of our fundraiser. We're in a $5 million seed round for Regen Network. We've raised about $1 million to date, with $500,000 of that coming from insiders in our company because we're very excited about this. The process is going super well. A big share is we're talking with really different impact. Follow the different blockchain projects that are associated with ecological restoration, carbon sequestration, and biodiversity, grouped to a fund and basically pitching that fund to investors. They gave us a call. They'd like us to be one of the highlight projects in their funds. So there's 3 different funds that are inviting us into that, which is very exciting. If even one of those goes through, then we're basically out of our seed round and from the design and dev teams, we're working together in a sprint process right now to iterate various prototypes for our farmer-facing app. So our minimum viable product on an app prototyping process, a couple of our partners. Right now we're testing assumptions. You know, many of us on the team have worked with farmers for the last 15 years, and yet anything that we say that we think we know about farmers is always just an assumption. So we're going through a process of testing those assumptions and making sure that farmers actually back up what we think we know. Learning from real people, real farmers about what tools they currently use, like what apps they use for weather, what apps they use for planning their fertilizer regimens, etc., and how they use them and how frequently they use them, so that we might harvest that knowledge and grow from it. On the science and protocol side, some of you may have seen the recent update in Medium. Maybe Alyssa could share that link again on the Telegram channel, but there's a Medium blog post about our till no-till protocol. As many of you know, down the line there'll be a whole set of different ecological state protocols, as we're calling them, that will be the validation, verification methodology through which various contracts will be based on, and farmers can test their data against those protocols. We're starting with one that works well for us as a place to start, the till no-till protocol. And there's kind of two reasons we're starting with that from my perspective. One is that we can do this protocol completely from remote sensing. So there's a big, it's important to have really trusted data. In the data world, that people say trash in, trash out. If we can't really trust the data that's coming in, it's hard to create something coming out you can trust. With the till no-till protocol, we have a team of 3, maybe 4. I say maybe because one person's going to part-time on that. Scientists working on creating that protocol, and as you can see in that blog post, we've reached about a 98% accuracy level with the farms that we've currently tested. So it's very exciting. I mean, that basically brings it to a level of accuracy that is plausible for the types of applications that we would like to apply this protocol in. A couple of the employing that push even amongst conventional farmers to consider shifting to no-till practices. So there's literally hundreds of thousands of acres of land that are potentially considering shifting towards no-till, and our verification protocol could be used in incentivizing those farmers. So USDA and RCS, if you're watching this, give us a call. We could help verify that, and we could get more farmers signed up. All right, let me give you a little update on our partnership side. We've been approached frequently with lots of interest in partnerships, and we've been pretty picky about which partnerships we sign. I personally spend a lot of time having calls and emails with various potential partners about running a pilot project or about integrating in some way. And honestly, it could take up 3 of our team members' times if we were to respond and communicate constantly with those folks. So we're trying to be pretty restrained about what partnerships we're getting in, but I have a couple updates on that. We've signed MOUs with 12 organizations right now. We're in talks with 30 other companies who have said that they're willing to sign an MOU and interested in moving forward that way. Some of the most recent signatories on MOUs with us is the Versus Foundation. You can check out what they're doing. Multicapital.io is a company that's working on the security tokens, asset-backed security tokens, and they're interested in using our platform as a verification platform for those security-backed, asset-backed security tokens. Novena Capital is, I mentioned the funds earlier, they're exploring working with us on that. We signed an MOU with them. And then a group called Intuit Earth in Western Australia, who is working on a carbon dioxide sequestration project, working with farmers on 240,000 hectares of land in Western Australia. They've invited us to help employ our blockchain technology with the existing carbon protocols. So basically, we will be using the carbon protocols that are honored by the Australian government, basically putting them into a database, uploading them to our blockchain system, verifying them, and giving blockchain verified outputs of that. And the idea is that over time, we can explore with Intuit Earth and with the Western Australian government if we can start shifting those protocols towards more remote sense and automated systems. Another MOU, another partnership that's worth mentioning, I think they're on the call right now, is with Nori. So Nori is a carbon drawdown marketplace. We're super excited about the development process that's happening with them. Our developers have been on calls, and we're making sure that what we're building fits. They are interested in being a marketplace for carbon drawdown credits and would like us to be the verifiers of the fact that that carbon was actually drawn into the soil. So one last thing I just learned about this morning, I'll just kind of read it right here. I'm delighted to share that out of nearly 100 compelling nominations for the Verge Accelerator program, Regen Network has been selected to be a semifinalist and featured in the community voting semifinals. So it'd be awesome if you guys would vote for us. I assume that voting is already happening. I actually don't know. Alyssa, maybe you can post that in our Telegram channel and other.
The voting is happening. Go vote.
What's that? Is happening. Please go vote for us.
Please go vote for us. It'd be awesome for us to work through that accelerator program. There's a number of benefits that come along with being in that program. So exciting that we are selected. Cool. On another front, Regen Foundation. Just so you know, we currently have 2 legal entities, mostly for legal reasons. One legal entity is building the dev process and running the token sale. The other legal entity, called Regen Foundation, is just being spun up. We're just days away from launching a landing page for Regen Foundation, but we're already have been super excited to share that we've been granted fiscal sponsorship by the Buckminster Fuller Institute while we're waiting for our 501c3 status. So that means we can start to accept tax-deductible donations. I know there's a number of people out there who either don't qualify as an accredited investor, so couldn't invest into our organization, or actually said that this project seems more like something that they would like to be in their charitable giving portfolio rather than in their investment portfolio. So excited to share that that's totally possible right now. If anyone, please reach out if you'd like to give a donation. We also, on the Regen Foundation side of things, we've sent out the first consortium member agreements for Regen Consortium. Regen Consortium is the governing body for the chain itself, and also will be selecting the board of directors for the foundation in the long term. So over the next 5 years, there'll be a transition from the original board of directors into the consortium selected board of directors. So we'll be making some announcements as those member agreements come back in as to who the first members of our Regen Consortium are. Yeah, there's a lot moving. Feels to me like Regen Network is just humming along right now. I'm super excited to share all this. A little bit of our outreach, just in case anyone's in the San Francisco area during the Global Climate Summit happening September 12th through the 14th. Both Gregory and I, as well as David, our Chief Marketing Officer, as well as Brian, our partners lead, and as well as Daniel, one of our developers, will all be in San Francisco that week. We'll be taking part in a couple different events and would love to meet you in person and see you there. We're also hosting investor roundtable later in the month. Excited to, that'll be happening in New York City. If you'd like more information about that, please feel free to reach out. Wow, I think that's about there's a lot more. I narrowed that down from a lot more bullets, but I think that's about the updates. Gregory, do you have anything more you'd like to add that you have going on in your realm?
Oh, so much, but I would love to open it up for questions and comments and just sort of tune in. I'm glad you mentioned Verge. I'm pretty excited. We've also been invited to speak there, so I'll be on a panel talking about blockchain and agriculture, actually, with the corporate social or corporate sustainability officer of Walmart, I think. So that should be a fascinating panel. For those of you who are in the Bay Area, Verge is a pretty amazing event that's happening in October. and we got nominated into the semifinals of their pitch competition, which should be pretty fun. And go vote for us, because it'll be awesome. I think you can vote once a day, so feel free to vote every day.
Right.
So yeah, I'm just.
Do you want to turn your camera on, Gregory? And
yeah, sorry, I was just on silent there. Hi, everybody.
There he is.
Looks like more people have joined, which is really exciting. We've got a pretty awesome crew. It looks like there's about 50 people on the call. So again, if you want to just chat some questions, feel free. We'd love to kind of engage folks a little bit. So I can allow people to talk. So if you want to raise your hand or chat a question, it'd be fun to get some of the voices on here. I'm looking over and seeing a lot of our amazing community is on the call. So please feel free to chime in with some questions. Probably just digesting all of that avalanche of amazing updates that Christian just gave. One of the things, we've got an attendee here who's got Bill. We've got Bill Bow who'd like to talk. I'm gonna get you on. Oh, Bill, I'm promoting you to be a panelist because you have an old version of Zoom that doesn't allow me to just give you permission. So welcome
Join
to
the panel.
Bill.
Join the panel.
Yeah. All right, Bill, you're on. You can take yourself off mute and put your video on if you want.
Okay, great. It says I can't start my video because my host has stopped it. But anyway, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can.
Cool. And apologies, I came on a little bit late, so sorry if you've already covered this, but I was interested in hearing more about your process and where you are around ecological benefit validation. I think that's an area of particular interest to me, and I've spoken in the past to some level about how you are looking to involve experts in that validation process, so sort of making a marriage between a technological and a social solution. And I imagine others might have interest in hearing this as well if you guys haven't already talked about it.
Yeah, I'd be happy to speak about that. And Christian, feel free to jump in as well. Well, one of the things I think that we've been getting a lot of excitement from the academic community of late because of our approach. One of the things that we're doing is you could sort of think of it as, well, I'll throw out a word here. Some of you may have deeper understanding of what this means than others, but we're sort of creating a knowledge commons and marketplace. And those two are interrelated. And so one of the reasons that academics are getting very excited is because essentially the only academic discipline currently that really is sort of like fully funded is pharmaceutical, biochemical research, because there's like a clear pathway towards monetization of that research in the pharma industry. And you might think of what we're doing as creating sort of a decentralized monetization strategy for research and development and technology around the health of living systems, of ecosystems. And what that means is that research that's been sort of locked up and siloed in research institutions around the world, and careers of people who've been sort of like doing this amazing work on ecological health and how to monitor and verify that and how to upgrade that health is sort of disaggregated and not unified, and there's no clear way to sort of monetize that or bring it to market or to incentivize it. And so the academic community, I think, is getting increasingly excited that there's sort of a way in which people can publish protocols, which, you know, in our use of a protocol in this case, we might say it's the scientific measurement methodology, where you say you need to measure X and Y in the following way, that can be published and utilized on Regen Network, and they can essentially receive, every time that that's used, a fee for the use of that. And so we're sort of bringing them into a marketplace to unlock that collective intelligence, essentially.
Is there a mechanism for essentially vetting expertise, or is that going to be handled through a kind of community-based or crowdsourced methodology, where essentially the quality of the work speaks for itself, and that it's essentially vetted by the market uptake of it? Or do you have any kind of pre-vetting of, you know, so that you have a kind of QC ability?
Yeah, at the beginning it will be pre-vetted. We've been researching some interesting opportunities with, you know, curation marketplaces, and of course there's also sort of embedded into our architecture the ability to sort of have that's one of the uses of the blockchain, is you can basically embed all of the information about the success of the use of that protocol, and it then becomes visible, so the market can be very intelligent. So we're really, right now, we're playing with what that, like, the full maturity of sort of how those algorithms and protocols are curated will look like. And in the beginning, in this moment, you know, we're working with you know, academic institutions that are very highly regarded, and you know, keeping it pretty tight so that it's super useful. And then as we move towards network launch, there'll be sort of more of a peer-to-peer capacity for people to just dive in and start innovating and sharing that, and allowing people to engage with, you know, new protocols. So yeah, it's sort of a yes and phased approach. It's not sort of, we can't automatically just go to a highly designed and yeah, we can't immediately jump to a curation market. I think that's step 2.
Right. Okay, cool. Thank you. Thank you. Really helpful, interesting updates.
Yeah, and actually, you know, there's been so much movement that this myth, but we recently brought on a new advisor, Nathan Woolworth, and he's a postdoc researcher at University of Southern California, doing a bunch of ocean work, and he's sort of diving in and bringing this out into the academic world to say, hey guys, we could start publishing our, you know, protocols on Regen Network in this way, and starting to sort of do some community curation around that. So we're really excited to have him involved, and that's been moving and pretty exciting. Thanks, Bill. Yeah. Feel free, other folks, to raise your hand.
There were another list of questions. I got cut off and knocked off the call. When I came back, I couldn't see those questions anymore. But there were 4 questions there. Sorry for the technical difficulty,
okay,
folks. But
I think I can... so Antonio asked, when is the XRN token sale live? We are currently in a private seed round for accredited investors, so that's live right now. And if you'd like to find out more, so that's for US persons. And there's also a contemporaneous sale for non-US persons. And if you'd like more detailed information about that, you can feel free to reach out to office@regen.network. There's also information on the website. And Christian, if you'd like to add anything to that answer, feel free, but I think that's pretty complete.
Yeah, no, that sounds good. I see another question here from Mark. Is Regen Network specifically focused on agriculture, or is the goal for the network to be used for all kinds of regenerative efforts? And
so yes, we're focusing. We believe that agriculture is the best place to start, and of course, as the network matures, it will be seamless and easy for people to jump in and broaden the usage out. And we also expect some of the sort of our growth strategy is focused on bringing institutions, corporations, or governments that already have existing funding needs into the network in order to facilitate what they're trying to do and make it happen better. And so as that happens, that basically means that if there's a large group that would like to create an ocean protocol and, you know, use an existing verification methodology and work to automate that in Regen Network, that's something that we'll be able to do quite easily. At the moment, we're focused on building the infrastructure that makes that possible and building a user adoption strategy centered around regenerative agriculture so that people can see how it works to create this sort of two-sided marketplace that's centered around ecological data.
Yeah. And to add to that, if you had, I mean, Gregory's talking about all sorts of conservation and forestry and mariculture benefits, but if you're also talking about non-physical regenerative efforts, like social regenerative efforts, there's the infrastructure that we're building can support it. I would say that at this moment, we're very hesitant to engage in a discussion about social regenerative efforts and trying to promote or incentivize particular changes, because for whatever reason, our society feels very comfortable about applying ideals to ecological systems. And I'd say even people on our team feel fairly comfortable about applying ideals to ecological systems. But as soon as you start trying to apply ideals to social systems, you get in some really sticky ground. And so we're not.
Yeah. And it's not so sticky to say that there's like the health of the planet is represented by these factors, which we can monitor and measure, and that can boil down to soil health and water quality and these other things. And here's how we can know if that's true and how we can reward things. That's not it's not a sticky, political, challenging, and oppressive thing. It's pretty clear and clear cut. So thanks for noting that. So I'm reading another question here from Jeroen and Wilken from Soil Heroes, who we love. Hi, Jeroen and Wilken. Consortium status update. Christian, would you like to speak to that in more detail? I can give a broad overview, but you've been in the weeds with the legal team about that. So
yeah, sure. We're in the midst right now of sending out the first consortium member agreements, and I believe there's an organization very close to your hearts, Jeroen and Wilken, that will be receiving one of those. I think it's on my plate to get that agreement to you, and I've just been busy with preparing for these webinars and other things that it hasn't gotten out, but looking for that soon. On a more broad level, we are sending consortium member agreements out to about 10 organizations that we believe are great organizations to be the founding 10 members of the consortium. And we'll be making announcements as those come back in the affirmative.
And for those of you who aren't aware what the consortium represents, we've chosen to govern the trust mechanism, the consensus trust mechanism of the blockchain element of Regen Network through a consortium of organizations, of legal organizations that have all shown sort of competency and focus on agriculture and ecological knowledge and data, and more broadly speaking, forestry and ocean management folks are also welcome, and they will have sort of the authority to maintain the consensus of the blockchain and the integrity of the blockchain. So that's the governance mechanism of Regen Network is represented by the consortium. And you can read a little bit more in detail about that in the white paper. And also, if you've got questions about those sorts of things, please ping us on the Telegram channel, because those are just the kinds of conversations that should be happening in public, so that we can all talk and learn together, and we can share our ideas and also hear reflections about that. Yoron and Wilkin also had increases in health around the health of humans. I think we sort of spoke to that. I think it's possible. One of the interesting things that Christian didn't mention is the automated contracting or ecological contracting mechanism that we're building, can create multi-party automated contracts where you could say, every time my doctor says, like a business and an individual could have a relationship where you say, every time my people can use the smart contracting in a variety of different ways. That's not really what we're focusing on driving network adoption, though. The technology we're developing is allowing small farmers to afford growing their capacity to track ecological health. Yes. So who ultimately pays to incentivize regeneration where otherwise it's not incentivized? And he's thinking about elephants in particular. It's a great question. I think we're focused in the short term on where there are existing pools of money that are blocked from effectively achieving the ecological outcome aims that they have, and making that happen more efficiently, because that's a sort of market strategy that allows us to grow the network. Your question, though, is a really important one, and I think it becomes possible to essentially crowdsource sort of an ecological contract with a clear set of criteria. And so if a community of people can come together and decide the criteria for verifying, sort of the individual or collective health of a herd of elephants, for instance, or the ecosystem in which those elephants call home, that community of people could automate monthly or yearly payments to the stewards who are maintaining that landscape, right? And so essentially we can activate, and that community of people could include governments and companies too, and individuals. So the cool thing is we create this direct and frictionless ability for people as a global community to value the things that we need to be protecting and regenerating. So hopefully that's a helpful answer for you, Zach, around sort of how we're unlocking the potential to incentivize things that are important, and not just sort of making it so that we're waiting for some government somewhere to deal with it.
Right. And I want to add to that I believe there's kind of known mechanisms that we're planning for, and there's also a whole set of unknown mechanisms that we believe will be built into this. So there's donor pools that are out there interested in investing and donating into climate mitigation and ecological stewardship. We're going to be able to give the data and the verification of that actually happening, so that they can put their donated funds in a healthy direction. There's huge amounts of money. I just learned this in this last week. I mean, nearly $1 trillion from some people's estimates sitting on the sidelines waiting to be invested with small returns into projects that have real palpable ecological and social returns. So part of what Regen Network is doing is building the infrastructure through which those investments can be made and those returns can be transparently logged into a ledger, so that the economic and social returns are logged, and the financial flows of money are logged, and that transparency makes it that much more clear and easy to invest. And then the third piece I want to say is just there's probably a bunch of unknown mechanisms which we expect folks like yourself on this call, others to build apps on top of what we're building to enable a whole other world of engagement. We had a call with a group, what were they called? Dashboard.io or something like that. I think Dashboard They want to map all the good deeds that people do in a city, and those good deeds are rewarded with small amounts of tokens. And once you've received 100 tokens, you can then pledge those 100 tokens towards various things. And they were inviting us to put our project as one of those things that you could pledge your rewards towards. So I think that there'll be all sorts of ways in which consumers and the public sector can get involved in specifically things like the saving of elephants and conservation of really marginalized lands.
So there's another question here. The question is, do you think that you need to balance your system in terms of local and global investment? The context being the richer areas of the world could certainly benefit from local regenerative work, but the poor arid regions of the world will have fewer local investors. Perhaps the balance would be that too much investment would go towards those regions and not enough for the US Midwest or Northeast. Yeah, so I think, again, I think there's sort of a complexity to that, which is worth just noting and holding. And then let's talk about how we're approaching. So what we're approaching is finding partnership opportunities that allow us to go work on pilots. And some of those pilots, interestingly enough, are in some very poor regions where there are existing, like we're in conversation with some great organizations in India that would like to be able to funnel financial resources towards smallholder farmers for their good stewardship. And it's on a desertifying edge. So it's just that kind of like, it's similar to some opportunities we see in sub-Saharan Africa and other places where you can sort of have this enormous influence by connecting an aggregate of many, many different small landholders and valuing them and sort of giving them almost a basic income for their stewardship because of the value that generates for the planetary commons. I think that is kind of universally applicable. If you think about the ecosystem service of shifting the entire Midwest of the US towards no-till just as a start, and then towards regenerative agriculture more deeply, the impact that would have on the health of the Gulf of Mexico, for instance, and the dead zone that's there, and then the impact that has on the global system. It's, I think that, as Christian was saying, there's a huge pot of money that understands the cost of not taking these actions, but hasn't been able to link itself to a robust enough sort of verification mechanism in order to trust the investments in these sort of more complex multi-stakeholder systems. And that's a big part of what we're building, is the infrastructure that makes that possible. We are believers that that we're not trying to create a top-down mechanism, but on the other hand, one of the uses of Regen Network can easily be, and this is something that our team has been talking about building, sort of a priority list of the places that have the lowest cost and the highest effect for regeneration around the world. And I think many of those places that have the lowest cost and the highest effect are going to be exactly these sort of desertifying regions. So hopefully that's a pretty good answer for you, Trevor. I think it's a great question.
I think there's actually some folks on this call from the Masai Pastoral Restoration Project, which we're talking about working with them. They're employing holistic management practices in rotational grazing of animals with the Masai peoples in Central Africa. So it's a great example where, in talking with them, it's not going to take much incentive in terms of our Western, compared to Western farmers, to help them shift and really transform the way that they relate to their animals and their landscape. And it's a very cool project. It's organized.
Yeah, it's one of the more exciting ones. I mean, there's so many. I mean, I think we're getting up towards the top of the hour, so we're probably going to want to start wrapping. But one of the takeaways for me, I mean, just we're living right now, there's an almost insurmountable opportunity for regeneration. And the key to unlocking that potential is in data and knowledge and being able to have an approach that unlocks the potential of current observation and data collection and future data collection, so that we can create frictionless, seamless exchange about the health of the world, right? And so we can value appropriately regeneration, and we can also create contracts around sort of amelioration or degradation concerns. I mean, that's also totally a use case where a community can say, you know, if this happens, then this company needs to pay this so that we can restore it. Like, those are things that can be automated in the system. And so we tend to really focus on the regenerative side because we're very excited to shift the paradigm so that people can understand that humans can be a force for cultivating biodiversity and soil health and water quality and air quality. And that's really a narrative we're passionate about and we feel is important for the next century. And there's a lot of other use for the thing. So Christian, would you like to just close us out with
Sure. I mean, the first thing I want to say is just get the name right of that project, because I want to honor them and what they're doing out there. It's called the Masai Center for Regenerative Pastoralism. They're doing some great stuff there in Kenya. Yeah, with 2 minutes left until the top of the hour, I just want to thank all of you so much for your participation in this event. I think what we'll do with the questions that are left over is we'll bring them over to our Telegram channel, our public Telegram channel, and give you some answers there in the next couple hours. Thank you all very much, and don't hesitate to reach out and continue connecting with us. As I said at the beginning of the hour, this is about building a network. Regen Network is not the 15 of us that are currently working on it. Regen Network involves all of us, and we need your help. We need to grow this movement and make that insurmountable effort not insurmountable. So thanks a lot.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye-bye.